happy to have four very prominent panelists here, and thank you for accepting our invitation to be here, first of all. So we have Mauro Cordella, Policy Officer, DG Environment. Silvia Maltagliati is also Policy Officer, DG Research and Innovation. And then we have Pelin Biersen from EREX, Blue Matters Industrial Partner from the textile sector, industrial partner of the Calimero project, right? And then we have Laura Monteiro from A4F, is also industrial partner in the ALIGNED project from algae biorefinery. So thank you all for being here. We have prepared a sort of list of topics for you that just to keep the discussion ongoing. And the first topic, can I get that? Thank you, thank you. I forgot to print. So the first one is we want to discuss a bit the, these two projects in the context of next framework program. So the projects, the next EU projects that are coming. So you have seen what these two projects have done here, and you have an idea of what is coming probably. Now, my question is like twofold. So you see this has been a sort of, from my perspective, a bit of different call from usual, because there was a lot of requests for methodological advancement. It's different from other calls where it's a more industrial advancement or innovation in industry. Here was a bit the opposite. So would you like to see more of this or less of this? What do you think is what kind of projects would you like to see after these two projects have been done now? And what kind of calls would you like to see? Because there is still round for commenting and to influence what is being presented, at least for 26, 27 now. So I also know that Mark has been an evaluator for many calls, so, and many of you are applying to new projects. So what is your take on the next generation of projects in the light of these two projects presented today? Who wants to start?
Is it okay? Right. First of all, thank you for invitation, and it's really nice to contribute our real life, real case study to express here. I like to say that, actually, I don't like to say that fashion industry, one of the most polluted industry of the world. We have to be very careful on our production in our industry. And we are from the EREX Blue Matters. We are from the denim industry. So denim and the dye houses, most polluting part of that textile industry. So we have to be very careful on that. So in our case, we are polluting a lot. We are polluting in chemical-wise, we are polluting in the textile waste side and other waste, plastic waste, and water pollution, and lots of energy consumption. So our focus should be more high impact areas, for our opinion, which are energy consumption and the water consumption.
Others who want to contribute? Yes, Laura, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so hi, hello everyone. Can you hear me well? Yeah. So very nice being here today. Thank you so much for the invitation to participate in this panel discussion. So I'm Laura Monteiro from A4F Algae for Future. So we are working in algae production and biorefinery. And of course, this is a very recent sector. So we do have a lot of things to further develop, and we need to further develop it within the scope of new funded projects, if possible. So of course, every type of code that can help us developing more sustainable processes, either for the cultivation or for the biorefinery and the product development with the algae. So all of those are very well needed. And regarding what you just commented, Massimo, on do we need more of projects like these or different ones? I think we need both. And maybe in something more similar to ALIGNED, we could have something more focused on circularity aspects and the symbiotic aspects as well, and how to measure, how to assess it, and have real metrics for it. So that's something I would like to also propose for new R&D projects at lower TRL as this one. And of course, in the higher TRL projects, we also need to consider integrating these methodologies and to demonstrate in demo cases the real impact of our activities and processes. So that is quite common to include in most kind of innovation actions.
Yes, in fact, I would like to complement these two first comments. In fact, I agree with both the positions on saying that we need to do more for the reduction of the impacts from the bio-based industries. Not only we are talking today about bio-based industries, of course, there is a problem overall the economy of Europe, but also on the fact that methodology should be demonstrated and also to be, say, strengthened and to be better optimized. But the two things can be, in fact, be developed in the same projects. On one side, just I think that you know, in the 2025 work program of Horizon Europe Cluster 6 again, there is a topic and innovation action on the demonstration of the reduction of energy, water, and all the other resources consumption in the bio-based industry. So I think that's there, for example, the industrial symbiosis that was mentioned as a missing element sometimes is in, as well as the rebound effects of the circularity of processes and products, because we need to understand a bit better why we always say the circular economy is for sure the best way, while the bio-based is not really sure. And so we need to understand more, but also to demonstrate how these better understanding, say, reduce the concrete impacts of the industries in Europe. So we absolutely need to move forward and to have already an idea of the best available techniques. And in fact, in the next, this will be also the focus. I hope, performed under the upcoming bioeconomy strategy review. You know that there are some policies that are coming, like the Life Science Strategy, the Biotech Act in the next year that will impact the bio-based sectors as well. And all these policies, and Mauro may confirm, indeed would like to see, of course, the growth of the sectors, but towards the better environmental performances, because we absolutely need to ensure that we progress towards specific objectives. And that's why before I was inviting you all to contact the big projects funded under other programs like the Circular Bio-based Europe Joint Undertaking, because they need to do an assessment of their potential benefits, but also, say, problems, issues to overcome their impacts, the environmental impacts. I'm talking especially on the environmental part, but of course, all the other two pillars of the sustainability are there. To, collaborate with them and for the advancement of your methodologies, but also for them to demonstrate that their progress towards a better environmental performances, as said. I think I can conclude here.
Okay, I will just complement what my colleague panelists have said. I think that indeed what we must do urgently is to develop solutions to actionate this transition to our circular bioeconomy. It is also requested in the Clean Industrial Deal, or it will be part of the bioeconomy strategies. And what we need to ensure is that then this solution will be able to deliver in terms of addressing the challenges that we have at the level of climatic, nature, or pollution crisis. So what we need ultimately is not only to have actions on the ground, but also tools and data which can then demonstrate that we achieve our policy objectives. And then the challenge will be then to be able to fit the research projects in the policy timeline that we have, that sometimes is a challenge in itself.
Thank you. I mean, just a follow-up question on this topic. So I think this is the first EU project I've been part of where we could have a chance to have many, in this case, LCA experts to talk together and get together and get some consensus and then use this for application in a specific cases. Whereas in typically is the other way around. So we are like an accessory to some other projects about a specific area, right? And I think this gave an opportunity to have a stronger element. So do you think there is any way to, the way I see the next projects, I think they are going not in this direction. So how do we get this to work again, let's say? It's essential. Yeah, it's essential for us.
Yeah, I get this. I understand your point. Yeah, I understand your point, and I'm very happy to see you all here. So for me, some known faces, but also new faces, of course. I understand your point. Still, it is said that competition also is something that pushes you to progress, to improve your performances. So unfortunately, you will always have kind of competition even in this sector, which is science-based. On the other side, there is still, and if Dokia in fact mentioned some possible new projects in the new calls where you can find the way to be all together, not focusing on just bio-based, but I think that your methodology is indeed kind of cross-cutting. So in that sense, you have some opportunity. But again, the game is still, ongoing. And I repeat the fact that you can also be part of other projects and also innovation actions, again, under the joint undertaking, where you have two innovation actions in the same call. And then you can have two teams looking at the LCA and developing the methodology and applying the methodology. So I see many possibilities. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comment to this or any addition? Right. Then we move on to the second topic.
Yes, thank you all for your fruitful insights. Now it is time to move to the second topic. This is in relation to the product environmental footprint. As you already know, this is like the European Commission proposal standard for applying life cycle approaches. As in those both projects, ALIGNED and CALIMERO, we are dealing with applying this European standard to the particularity of the bio-based production and consumption systems. So I don't know what is like your overall impression of how to apply the PEF methodology to a specific or real world case study, and apart from that, which additional resource do you expect to be integrated in that methodology? Currently, there is composed by 16 midpoint environmental impact categories, and for example, in CALIMERO, we are trying to refine some of them, like including additional toxicity characterization factor, or maybe looking beyond not only the greenhouse gas emission, but also some other points of concerns, like ecosystem services impacts, biodiversity, and so on. So please, panelists, the floor is yours.
I can give example from our case study. In denim industry, maybe some of you know, we use the pumice stone in our washing machines. With that pumice stone, this is a natural stone we put into the machines with the denim products, and it goes lighter and lighter, and then it melts, that pumice stone, because it's natural stone. It melts and it becomes a sludge. Because with the chemicals, it becomes a toxic sludge. With the path analysis, with the CALIMERO and the old sustainability methodologies, LCA methodologies, since 3 years we did. At the end of these 3 years, with the results, with the outcomes, we have dropped down this pumice stone usage only to 8% in overall production. Instead of pumice stone, we use the ecological stones, foams, waterless enzymes, different kind of R&D methodologies we applied. So we are very glad to say that only 8% in overall production. That sludge goes to the licensed recycle companies. We deliver them, but they do landfill or they burn it. So this is quite toxic sludge. But that at 8%, you know what's happening? We can drop down to 0. But this is the demand of the fashion brands. They insist us to use that pumice stone in our production. They say this is a traditional way. We don't like the effect of this enzyme, or we don't like the effect of water. This is a bit lighter. This is a bit darker. They have to increase their tolerances on that path, in sustainability path. We need their support on that. Because the fast fashion is quite bad for all our in overall production. We have to support the low fashion with the premium, with the according to the due diligence regulations. So long life using, maybe tailor-made. So we have the on-demand production started a year ago in our factory with that on-demand production. So we do produce in premium way, less production instead of mass production. Thank you.
It is on? Yeah. So regarding your question on PEF, I mean, at A4F, we have been focusing much more on GHG emissions than anything else. It was really one of our cores in our activities. And it really was an experience that dive us into where does this CO2 come from. Some things have never been thought about before, so it was a very interesting process in the company. It brought a lot. It bring a lot of knowledge to the company. So this was a very interesting activity for us within Align. Yeah.
Well, I think that this question was mainly for me, representing this environment and working on environmental footprint methods. I want to say, first of all, thanks again for the wonderful presentation that you provided. I follow them with a lot of interest. There are many interesting insights that, of course, also details that is not possible to grasp in 10 minutes. So this is why I ask kindly to have, if you can, joint position paper, and then perhaps we can have a follow-up to see which are the level of alignment or what can be incorporated in our work on the EF methods. That is the good news. The bad news is that the enemy is the time. Time is the enemy. So we have, of course, our timeline, and we need then to see what can be integrated, what could be integrated and discussed in the short term, and what should and how, and what should instead be used as information for future development in the medium longer term. But I think that there is a lot of know-how that would be a pity not to exploit also in our context. I took note of some aspects that could be particularly interesting to discuss together. So on carbon accounting, there are some issues that where we are already aligned, like this transition towards a minus+1 approach. There are others that are more advanced modeling that I don't know how we can integrate in the shorter term in the EF methods. I think that what we could do is at least to open the door for future development. So also to better clarify what can be the goal and scope of an LCA application, so that this could also link, for instance, on aspect like prospective LCA, uncertainty assessment, And then I think that other important particular things where would be interesting to discuss are also relating to the assessment of biodiversity impact and ecosystem services. We are considering the inclusion of an additional environmental impact categories in the EF methods for land use derived impact on biodiversity. We are also would be interested to integrate non-LCA information so this is also the reason of my question earlier, and would be then interested to see then how to integrate all this information into a single score, if it makes sense or not, but we can for sure follow up the discussion. And then the circularity aspect is also an important topic where we are working on. We can discuss on that as well as the issue on biomass competition and all the impacts related to the land use. For sure, this can be seen as the kickoff of additional discussions together. I don't know if Silvia, if you have anything to say.
Yes, just something, because in fact I'm very happy to see Mauro here and to see that you already connected, because this was one of the key elements of the outcomes from this project. So I'm very happy. I really hope that you will find the right time to meet the targets of both the two streams of work. From my side, what I can add is that I was very happy also to see that the time is coming in this assessment, because unfortunately all the steady assessments can help less in a moment like now, that we really need to see some results and really need to change our ways. And unfortunately, I also think that it's not only for the greenhouse gas emissions and impacts that we need to take into consideration time, but we also have some other chemicals that are, for example, coming up to our attention. And for them, we should, on one side, I can already tell you that in the next future, our aim is to insist on trying to replacing the hazardous chemicals with safe and sustainable by design ones, and this is one point. On the other side, we still have some pollutants that cannot be replaced tomorrow, but we need to understand better how will be the short-term, medium-term, and long-term impact. So I don't know if this will be the future of PEF, because indeed I'm not in the technicalities, but yeah, I think that time is not so, yeah, I conclude here. But I see there is a question from the...
Yeah, please go ahead. Do you have a microphone there, or?
So thank you for the comments and the feedbacks. And I'm happy that there is this change to minus plus that Mauro announced for the carbon emissions. But I have three complementary questions with regard to these changes. Does that mean that this minus plus will also recognize the permanent storage of carbon or not in the PEF method? That's one question. The second one is that I remember in 2010, when GRC published the ILCD handbook, we had the distinction of different flows, considering short, mid, and long-term carbon aspects. So it could give at least some starting point for some dynamic assessment. Maybe not at product level, but it could be at the final application level to be used. Or at least it was some information that could go to the policymakers or countries or I don't know what. So the question is that, is there a way that in short term or even mid-long term that this recognition of different time frame flows can be done again in the method of the PEF, which will help a lot? That's the second question I had. And the third question is about the CALIMERO. In more related to circularity aspect, we have seen that the cascading aspect of cycles is not considered today in different methodological aspects, and some bio products they have a very good characteristics to be in multiple cascading cycles. And that's also another point. Is there a way that cascading cycles can be considered via, I don't know with each approach, because that's more to be discussed, but is it possible to integrate that as a criteria also in the CFF or whatever methods or approach? That's the third question. Thank you very much. Sorry for the long questions.
Thanks to you for the very interesting question. So on the carbon removal, I can tell you that there will be the possibility to consider this -1 in case of permanent storage of the carbon. What we want to do is also to align as much as possible with the work that our colleagues in DG Clim are doing with the carbon removal certification framework. So we want to adhere also to other methodological work done in other policies. Then for the short long-term modeling, somehow, so we are working, you may all know, on the development of the EF 4.0 database, together with RTD and with a consortium of LCA service providers. And there we are also considering to have short-term emissions of CO2 and then information that can enable for the longer-term emissions. So to know what is the carbon, biogenic carbon, the fossil carbon that is stored imagine in a landfill. And then when it comes to the circular economy aspect and the cascading approach, actually this was also one of the questions that I kept for myself during the previous presentation. I think it would be very interesting to know from Calimero or even from Align, if they did something similar, to know what is the lesson learned in terms of how to apply the cascading approach and also related to the rebound effect management protocol, how this is pragmatically applied in the bio-based sector, and then to see also what would be your suggestion for the integration of this consideration in LCA. We are open to discuss. I cannot commit on how much we can uptake now, but for sure we can discuss.
Do you have something to add on this cascading from the Calimero project? Not really. Not really. The expert. Who's the expert? They are. So he's asking questions. Okay. You want to add something?
No, actually, I would like to answer that question. Yeah. Ah, cool. Yeah, because I like that question.
Introduce yourself.
Does it work? It does work. Good. Quick. Yeah. No, the question is just, you asked, how do we do the cascading? And I think we do it with the consequential method, because we are then looking into how does the market react to the recycling of a certain product. And when you're looking into the marginal recycling of that product, it's not perfect, but when you then add some prospective levels to it, it's straight on. But you already have that element in, because the marginal effect of end of life is actually a market-based approach to that. I recognize it's not as quick as it should be. It should be looking a little bit more forward in the future, but it's kind of there.
Thank you. Did you have? No, that was it. Yeah, there is another question here, Thomas. Maybe if you can introduce yourself for the people in the room and also online. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Thomas from LIST, Luxembourg Institute of Science and Technology. Maybe it's because of the speaker. Now I stand here. I just wanted to come back on your short, medium, long term. Would it be interesting if from our project sites we classify our developments in that this could be short term integrated, this medium and long term, and we draft some kind of a pathways of how to do it? For example, toxicity characterization factors could be very quickly integrated. Other things might take more time, might imply database changes, something like that. So if we could map that for you in this way, this could help you in how to then see that how the advancements of Calimero and Aligned could be possibly of relevance and how you could see them.
Yeah, thanks. You're totally right that it would be good to provide some further indication on the timeline. So our plan is to complete the revision of the EF methods, which is currently ongoing, with some experts that are also informing the process that are here in the room. Thomas is one, but also Aalborg University. So we plan to complete this work by, let's say, Q1, Q2 next year. So if we do some retro planning, this means that we need to have a draft revised recommendation by the end of this year. And this means that we need to have, when I speak about short term, I'm talking basically about summer. So by summer, so this is why, but this is timely because your project concludes in September and October. So I really hope that you can, let's say, by July to send this position paper so we can digest it and then to discuss also, of course, it's not only DG Environment working on that, all the methodological development are also done in practice by the GRC. So we need to discuss, and we will need also to discuss with the technical advisory board. But they say that shorter term means that what we can digest by August, September, and then all the rest will have to be considered for the future. As I said, that there are some things that could be easily integrated, other things that must be postponed to the future, and other things that anyhow can be used to make the bridge to ensure that future development can be taken into account in the future of EF methods. I think it's a pragmatic approach.
No, thank you. Yes. Excellent. I'm looking forward to spend the holidays writing the draft paper. Yes, there is a question down there from the microphone. Maybe you can keep one mic in the audience and send it around.
Yeah. Hello, thank you for your intervention. I'm Leopold Motet. I'm working at Oleon, so we are a bio-based chemical company, so producing bio-based chemical. And okay, here we speak about bio-based, but the BEF will apply to all sectors. From a market perspective, we see more and more pressure from recycled fossil products. And okay, we know, okay, recycle is nice, it brings circularity, but it will never stop the virgin fossil industry, because if you have attractivity at the end of chain for the fossil industry, they will be pushed to produce more because they can sell the waste as a recycled fossil. My question here is, like, in the PEF, is there discussion around these different feedstock, virgin fossil, recycled fossil, bio-based product, recycled bio-based, and is there a discussion to put a kind of hierarchy in the choices made by the PEF methodology to give advantage or, let's say, benefit to some of the feedstock? Or does Europe, as a kind of ID, we want to prioritize recycled bio-based first and then cascade, just to be sure we don't end up at in a bad position in the bio-based industry?
I mean, methodologically, you may know that in the environmental footprint methods, we have the circular footprint formula for addressing the end-of-life aspect. So we don't, we apply a technology and material neutral approach. So it's not that we want to favor one material or one technology over another one. But then I feel that this is more, or not only a methodological question, it's more political question. So you have seen also in the Clean Industrial Deal, which we will give emphasis also to different sources of carbon. Or there was also a communication in the past about sustainable carbon cycles, so that basically what we want to decarbonize the economy, we need to rely both on renewable carbon from biomass, we need to recycle, so that we have recycled carbon, and then we need also to rely on atmospheric carbon. So I would say that the three of them are very important. I'm not now in a position to tell you which one is more important than the others. And of course, what we want to do is to ensure that anyhow there will be none of this sector will be penalized. And I think that already the move towards a -1+1 is somehow supporting industry in this transition and not to be penalized over the fossil-based industry.
Thank you. We move to the third part of this, third topic. I think this is actually a nice transition because, so have you seen, as you've seen in this presentation, these two projects, we had to address 5 different sectors. But biomass resources are shared across these sectors. So at least in our project, we have always this question, okay, we are looking at this in silos, but in reality, it's the same pool of resources we are looking at sometimes. And also the EU as such as an overall bioeconomy strategy where all the sectors integrate. So we thought sometimes these sector boundaries were a bit artificial. Yet, many sectors will have their own approach to this, to the bio-based use of bio-based of biomass and the production of bio-based products. So my question for you will be this: so how important do you think is to keep this sector focus, also in the light of projects that are coming that I think also go in a similar direction? Or yeah, how important is the focus on the sector as such in this research project like ours?
I can provide some insights and say the position of RTD, but it's mostly a personal position, of course, reflecting a bit the overall idea for the next programming period. So on one side, indeed, you are absolutely right. There is a methodology that is addressing sectors, we saw that, but maybe the question is if there is a prioritization of sectors that we can understand from these assessments, but yet this is not there in the sense that on one side the bioeconomy strategy will address the bioeconomy as a whole very big sector, including food. So you can imagine how it goes beyond the industrial sectors that we are talking today. So this is the idea of understanding, in fact, how the biomass uses can be not compete, but say survive, exist in a complementary and synergical way. So there is the key element of the sustainability of the biomass availability and the biomass growing in Europe. So it's not only Europe, we also address the trades beyond Europe of biomass. So the biomass is the key common element that we have to address in order also to decrease the environmental impacts of the bio-based industries, not only through cascading and through circularity, but of course at source, the biomass sourcing. On the other side, there will be possibly starting a work to understand, as said, what are the best available techniques in these bio-based sectors. But this is the sectorial aspect. So in each sector, what are the best techniques? And I think that this is also a way that we would like to go along, in the sense that we need to start understanding, in fact, if there are some indications, some recommendations to give to the bio-based construction, for example, in order to improve their performances. And of course, these include the reduction of all the impacts that were already mentioned. And we think that this will also connect all the different industries and stakeholders in sectors which are still very much fragmented. Thank you.
Yeah, can I complement what my colleague Silvia just said? I would like also to provide an additional perspective from the methodological side of LCA. So these two projects are about harmonization. I think we all, or most of us, all believe that harmonization is very important. It was also highlighted that a one-size-fits-all solution is very complicated to be found. So I think that what here could be done to address, at least at the methodological level, the assessment of the impacts of different sectors is to implement something similar that we are considering for the EF methods. So the concept of umbrella PFCR. So you have some you have a sort of a pyramid. So on the ground you have the LCA, then you develop sectoral rules for all the bio-based products, and then you developed specific category rules to further specify how to define the goal and scope of the application, or identify key hotspot and processes in the different subsectors. So it could be, one could imagine to have a cross-cutting set of rules that will apply to all the bio-based product, and then some more specific rules for the different sectors or subsectors within the parent one.
Right. I mean, our industry operates in different unique dynamics. Each industry has different unique dynamics. So we have the different production methods. So each sector approach to circularity, these strategies, it implements different significantly. Variations exist in the waste management, financial sustainability, the consumption rates, types of materials that we are using, the priorities of each sector. Unique sector is the difference. So harmonization very important, collaborations very important. But as you mentioned, we have to have the one biomass, and then significant unique dynamics has to be. Yeah.
I more or less agree with what has been said. So I think we still need this umbrella LCA methodology, but then each sector has its own particularities that need to be addressed specifically. So it's important to have some sector analysis as well, not only just bio-based solutions for all.
Okay, I really like this discussion, but I'm thinking maybe we could tighten it a bit, because I think having an umbrella, which is then diverted into negotiated sub-rule sets, I don't like that idea. I think it's way better to have an overall framework where we, instead of having category rules, we have implementation guidelines, so that we ensure that the different stakeholders doesn't get the opportunity to negotiate what is best for them. And that will be a negotiational process. So if you have a consistent framework, which is what we need to have if we have limited resources. We know that, I mean, the first biomass we use is super good to use, but the last one, takes the rainforest. So the volume is so important. So we have to have a framework where it's impossible, as I see it, to negotiate too many specific rules locally. And the real question, the real difficulty, as I see it, is not that how we should assess is different. It's just that the words, the technologies, the understandings are different, and that's an implementation problem. So just following like old days EU policy making with the framework legislation, but it has to be a little bit more tight than what that was. I would like to hear your comments on it, because I think that that's at least what that's the way we work in Aligned, I would say.
Thanks. So I think that this is not done by one single person, but it is a discussion involving many stakeholders. So, and I think that I don't know if I fully clear your approach, or what you suggest, but at the end is, for me, would be like in what I just mentioned before, would be like to have a 3-level matryoshka. In your case, there are 2 matryoshka levels, but at the end there is still the possibility to deviate from the let's say the parent rules. So it is important to ensure that there are some cross-cutting rules defined, and that when they are implemented consistently in each sector. So I think that what is important to have is like a matrix, to have some horizontal issues, some specificities which are of each sector. Then how this is implemented can be discussed, but I think that it is 1 level or 2 levels. Perhaps for me 2 levels is it provides more security in terms of implementation.
Yeah, maybe a follow-up question is, no, I also I'm puzzled because there's a lot of when I see the product category rules of the pathway are really specific to very narrow product groups. Yeah, right. So
Yes, but that is the past. So we are trying to. I know that many times people focus on the business as usual, but we are making an effort to make some changes. So, and one of the things that we are discussing is indeed this approach to not to have a focus on a very micro categories, but rather to have a broader scope, so to promote this clustering of products.
I think this links a bit back with the sector level because, I mean, I guess also in the industry, I don't know, what would be your preference? Would you like to have one for the whole blue bio sector or one for only algae producers? You know, set of rules is or both is difficult, right? To what is the right balance there?
But of course, we also need the industry on that because I was not there, but I mean, we also have this narrow scope because industry who volunteer to participate was representing that specific subsectors. But what we are trying to do now is to engage with industry, so to promote a broader scope of the category rules.
Thanks. We are still. I'm actually done with my questions. Do you have a comment? Please go ahead.
Yes, in fact, linked to what Mauro said, because there is one point which is unfortunate, that the bio-based industries are so fragmented that they cannot, usually they are not available to provide data. Mauro know the troubles we are having to collect data about the life cycle assessments of end products, but even intermediate bio-based chemicals. So we usually have really few data, and there is just one company producing that particular chemical in that particular pathway. I call it pathway in the sense of chain of processes. And of course, they don't want to disclose their data. So in that sense, we also have a problem to progress in this collection of data. So just to let you know if you didn't know.
We do know because we have we do research projects with industrial partners, and this is something we discuss every meeting almost, right? So, but there are legitimate concerns from the industry side to share their data, and there are also legitimate requests from the outside to, you know, if you want to prove your fundamental performance, something you might have to share, right? But maybe a suggestion for you, the Commission, I don't know, a database with some encrypted data where you can access data at different levels. I mean, they do it in many other sectors. In Denmark, there is the fishery sectors. I'm just in a project where they deliver data about how much fuel they consume, how much fish they catch, everything. All these data are public, are in a public repository, but encrypted. You cannot access this level of detail. You can access in aggregated. So there are solutions for this. There are people working on these things a lot. So I'm sure you can find. I trust the Commission can find a good solution here.
I think this is really I have another question which kind of collects this, because I think we are focusing way too much on methods, and we are like moving into the digital age. And what we really need are that these assessments and these data are transparent. And I mean, we know from the work in the digital passport area, where I, by the way, think we really need to do something, because I think it's off track from a sustainability point of view. There, Circularized, for instance, they have a very nice blockchain approach on how to disclose or not disclose, but have rooted data on. I think they're doing something with Mercedes and some chemical companies who are. I mean, you don't find anybody with more secrecy in chemical companies. So it's there. And we should, instead of focusing too much on these methods, these are just stuff you can put into the algorithms, calculating, and you can even have different types of models out. One gives you a stamp on a certificate, and the other tells you how you'll perform in the future. I mean, I mean, why? It's so old-fashioned the way we discuss if it should be the one or the other. What we should be focusing at is to have the right, good, transparent data. That's what works. And what we are putting into the digital passports for the time being is like stupid, carbon footprints made from different methods. It's close to useless. But if you have the data, then you suddenly are able to make these footprints very fast. And I mean, come on, we are wasting time not doing it upfront.
Yeah, thanks for the comment. A disclaimer, I don't work on the digital product passport. I have nothing to see with that. But I wanted to say that I mean, we have it clear that data are super important. Transparency and access to data is one of our priority, and this is why we have this project together with RTD on developing this database, which should have different level of accessibility to aggregating and disaggregating information. I don't want to overpromise. It is the starting point of a journey on the data at the data level. But what I want also to comment is that while I fully agree that data are super important, but I think that also methods are still very important because data, especially data in LCA, because we are not talking about one single point of data, but we are talking about data along a value chain, at least from cradle to gate. So they are based on a methodology. So methodological assumptions to follow, and then also the methods is important to make sense and interpret the results. So I think both are important. I think we are agree. So
I agree. I'm talking about flow data and not evaluated data.
There is a question just here, Laurie.
Laurie Hamelin from INRAE in France. I'm switching topic a little bit, but I can see time is running, and I have this burning question I would like to hear you on. It echoes, Mauro, when you mentioned about the single score integration, perhaps. And what I think is that we develop these bio-based strategies. They are, in a sense, typically very local value chain. And then we have a lot of good idea and on good pathways on the paper, but it doesn't work or it's not implemented. And I wonder if there is any thought, and that could also be included in the future of methodological development, into how can we predict whether a certain strategy would work, for example, on this area, but would not work in that area because the people have a different history on the territory, different background in terms of education, etc. Yeah, this integration with the more, let's say, socioeconomic framework to really predict the success of our strategy and interlink, let's say, the technological part and the social part. If that's something that seems relevant or it's already discussed on the table.
Yeah, thanks. So I think that the topic of aggregation and integration is super important. And I would really like to get, not now, necessarily now or at the lunch, but I would like to get your insight from these two projects in due time. So I think that the integration can apply at different levels. So there is there is the integration of environmental aspects, which can be based on LCA methods and non-LCA methods. And then there is the integration of socioeconomic aspects. For the moment in the EF methods, we only have a focus on the environmental dimension of sustainability. Of course, there is the possibility to plug in some additional information where it makes sense. So we could make also a soft opening to that in the future. I know that there are already some projects at European level which have worked on this. And we also have the Safe and Sustainable by Design framework, which was mentioned by Sylvia, which is already addressing this issue. So making reference to PEF for the environmental dimension and then to the integration of socioeconomic aspects. So for sure, there are sectors where already this is addressed, and I believe that in the future we'll get still more track this discussion.
Thank you so much. And with these words, we close the panel because, you have a comment? Sorry, I didn't see that.
Thank you, Matthew. No, just a last comment, because I think we mentioned about providing data and how the industry is willing or not to provide data. And I think there is a key parameter on this, which is to have people in the companies that know about LCA and sustainability analysis and so on, because they will be able to assess what kind of data is really needed and how critical is for the company to provide that data, or if it can be provided in some way that doesn't disclose any critical information from the company. So I think that is pretty much a key issue. Also, from that sector approach for the LCA, we could have guidelines and recommendations being provided by sector associations. We are doing that at EABA, the European Algae Biomass Association. So there is a working group that is dealing with the LCA and particularities of the LCA for the algae industry. And they are working on a white paper with the recommendations for the sector. So that could be an approach to be replicated to other sectors to help it really being implemented in the right way.
Thank you so much. Yep.
Just final comment on this. No, but very, very quickly. I think that is very important that industry association that they contribute to provide data or methods. What I wanted to comment is that it's very important that when this is done in a more independent way, it is ensured that in the process also other stakeholders are involved as far as possible, like NGOs or the public sector.
Thank you. I'm checking one last time before, but it was a really nice discussion, and I would like to thank you all for the contribution. Thank you, Marco. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Pelin, and thank you, Silvia, for being here and accepting our invitation and sharing your insights. It was great, and thank you all of you for attending and the questions and the comments. Also, hi to the online people. We are closing here now. Thank you for just staying with us so long online. And I hope you found the event interesting. And with that, we close for today. Do you have any word to say?
No. Lunchtime.
Thank you so much and see you soon. Bye.